Another week brings another national tour to our region. How is everybody doing? I'm Jay Olson, and this is Midco Motorsports. The United States Modified Touring Series has used the month of June to make up for lost time. The fastest growing modified circuit in the world had already spread 10 events across 5 states, entering Friday's stop at Rapid Speedway. The 12th annual USMTS Rapid Rumble is this week's A feature.
The A mods always provide an extra boost at the gate, but it was the B mods that led off the night. Last week's winner Tyler Johnson picked up right where he left off with the 91, settling into the early lead. But Johnson wasn't able to pull away this time. Just after a restart, Jackson Mulder puts together a great run on the outside, and that pushes the 4 car to the front as they leave turn 2. And no one would catch him from there. Mulder goes on to collect his 2nd win of the year at Rocky. To the hobby stocks now. The 86 of Tracy Haluska rode the high side of the lead early, and he would stay up top and out front for the first 5 laps. But what looked like a good run soured quickly. Haluska gets a little too high on the restart, and while it appeared as though he had some help with that, officials would send the 86 to the back. Terrible news for Tracy, but great news for Eric Gull. His 22E was granted the lead following that incident, and Gull never gave it back. The 15 of Thomas Kroc kept a little heat on him down the stretch, but Gull becomes the 4th driver to win a Hobbies feature at Rapid this season. Elijah Zevenbergen had the pole for the night's stock car feature, and normally that would be really bad news for the rest of the field. But this was not his night. Something broke on the 66Z a few laps in, forcing Zevenbergen to pull off. Colton Ahrens was ahead of him at the time, but just when he thought things might get a little easier, Dustin Larson storms in to steal the lead. Ahrens does everything he can to fend him off, but the 5L would not be denied. Larson climbs from 6th to notch his 2nd straight win in Rock Rapids. He's now finished 1st or 2nd in 4 of his 6 starts at the track. From there, they brought out the big boys. 35 laps the distance in the USMTS A-Main. Fans would be treated to a good battle between a couple of the heavy hitters early on as 4-time series champ Jason Hughes edges out Hunter Marriott at the point. Hughes really got into a rhythm from there, so it looked like a one-horse race, but eventually another one of the top guns threw his hat in the ring. Number 8 starter Rodney Sanders started to apply some pressure after getting around Marriott for 2nd. Him and Hughes would swap the lead with less than 10 to go, but Sanders stuck with it, and he'd get it for good a few trips later. Rodney Sanders leads the final 5 laps en route to his 103rd career USMTS victory. That tied him with Ryan Gustin for 3rd all-time.
Jackson Motorplex kicked off its weekly sprint car program with a duel between the Midwest Power Series and the MSTS 360s. We'll let you know who came out on top after this.
Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Speedway.
While Jackson Motorplex hosted a pair of high-profile events without spectators in May, track officials adopted the no fans, no racing approach for its weekly program, which finally got the green light last week. After kicking things off with round 1 of the IMCA series on Monday, the sprint cars got their first shot on Friday, with the Midwest Power Series teaming up with the MSTS 360s for what both groups hoped would be a high-flying debut.
Joining them would be the IMCA 305s. 22 of those took the green flag, and 21 started chasing Lincoln, Nebraska's Stu Snyder right off the start. Not even traffic slowed Snyder's roll initially as the 5X continued to stretch its advantage. The one thing he couldn't outrun was the caution flag. A slew of those helped Dusty Ballinger at least make things interesting, but this was all Snyder. He leads wire to wire for the win. The front row would also play a huge role in the night's 360 feature, but those 2 drivers put on a heck of a show. Defending track champ Lee Gross going head-to-head with Matt Jewell, pretty much side by side for the first couple of laps until a caution comes out for Jordan Martins. Gross and Jewell would pick it right back up off the restart and continue to battle as they maneuvered their way through heavy lap traffic. Jewell would lead one lap by a small margin, but Gross answers right back. Round and round they would go until the 09 finally powered around the 4J with 10 to go. That would be the move that settled it. Matt Jewell picks up his first win of 2020, besting a field of 33 competitors to do it.
At the start there, he got me, clean on the outside, and I thought the bottom was where he needed to be. And, luckily we got to the lap traffic, and it kind of favored me. I kind of stuck to the bottom, and then towards the middle of the race, the top side kind of came in just because you had to kind of move around to get to the lap cars, and I was fortunate enough to make it through it. I was really wanting to win tonight. I've been really close the last couple of years, and I haven't won here since my first year of racing the sprint cars. So it's been a long time due, and we'll have some fun tonight.
Jewell and several of his competitors then headed south for Saturday's show at Knoxville, where there was an interesting story to start the night. Devin Klein was just there to shake down the number 17 305 for Matt Allen, but it turned into so much more. Klein, who hadn't raced in 2 years, ended up leading all 15 laps en route to his 12th career win. How about that? Meanwhile, rough night in the 360 division. Several crashes for that group, including this hard heat race tumble for Chris Morgan out of Topeka, Kansas. Morgan, though, did walk away uninjured. Fast forward to the 18-lap main event. Week 1 winner Carson McCarl took command from the pole, but he would lose that lead 5 laps later. Off the restart, points leader Jamie Ball leans on the cushion and sails around C-Mac as they head down the back chute. And it was all 5J from there. Jamie Ball scores his first win of the year at Knoxville, giving him 6 for his career. Pleasantville, Iowa native Sawyer Phillips led the 410 feature to green on Saturday, but Aaron Reitzel would chase him down in a hurry. Lap 5, Reitzel, who started 6th, delivers a nifty little 2-for-1, picking off both Austin McCarl and Phillips to move into the lead. After that, the race was for second. Brian Brown won that with a lap 12 pass of McCarl, but this night belonged to Reitzel. The 2-time All-Star Circuit of Champions champion clears a career hurdle with his first ever win at Knoxville Raceway.
Well, the intensity figures to ratchet up a couple of notches this week at Jackson Motorplex. We'll preview the 42nd annual Jackson Nationals when Midco Motorsports rolls on. And welcome back. Well, aside from the obvious one at Knoxville, the AGCO Jackson Nationals has become the biggest annual sprint car event in our region. And while it's not quite as huge as it was supposed to be this year, it is still happening, and that is a victory in itself. Joining us now to preview the event is the general manager of the Jackson Motorplex, Doug Johnson. And Doug, certainly appreciate you taking some time out of a busy week for you. Now, this event is a lot of work for you and your team to put on, but I know it's also one that you all look forward to every single year. So how are you feeling, given all the extra things that have gone into the planning for this year, now that race day is almost here?
Well, it's kind of a relief, but yet it's kind of a bittersweet relief, I would say. We look forward to this race probably more than anything on our schedule all year long. Especially this year, with the added prize money that we had originally posted, and it's one of the marquee events in the entire nation right now. We've got a lot of fans from all over the country and Canada and Australia that we're planning on coming, and we got race fans or race teams from all over the country as well. So, it's a big deal for us. It's a big deal for our community. And, we look forward to this event, like I said, more so than anything, probably on our schedule all year long. And it takes a lot of work and preparation from our entire team here at the Jackson Motorplex to put this whole deal on with the World of Outlaws, so it's, we're excited to get this thing going, but, we're already planning for next year too. So this is kind of a yearly deal for us. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, and a lot of hard work goes into it. So when the week finally does get here, it's, like I said, it's a bittersweet relief, but we know this one's, going to be over soon. And like I said, we're already planning for 2021.
Well, you kind of hinted at it there, Doug. Things are going to be quite a bit different than originally planned for this year, and most notably, the grand prize, which has dropped from $100,000 to $30,000 to win Saturday's main event. Now, that's certainly still a ton of money, but can you talk us through how you got to this point?
Well, we've been working with World of Outlaws. I mean, in this whole event, we're in this with them they're a partner with us, and we kind of talk back and forth with them to, the situation we're in right now. We're only allowed a limited number of fans here in the state of Minnesota. So without having a full capacity, that kind of made the decision fairly easy for all of us. Is that we don't have the income to pay out the full prize money that we were going to at $100,000. So we talked with the Outlaws for several weeks, and we kind of come up with a game plan here that that we can still pay a very high-paying purse, like you said, at $30,000 to win, with a limited number of fans.
Finally, as a race promoter, your number one goal is always to put on a really good show for not only the fans in attendance, but for those who might be watching at home on pay-per-view as well. So what kind of competition can folks expect to see here over the next 3 days?
Well, I think you're going to see the best 410 sprint car drivers in the country. Obviously we've got the World of Outlaws here, and the nice thing, we've been working with Knoxville Raceway very closely for the last several years. They are not racing this weekend, so I think the fans are going to see majority of their race teams up here as well. Plus you've got some guys coming in that we may not even know about, because this is the first race in their schedule where they're not requiring a pre-registration. So the pits will be open, to spectators and fans coming in, as well as race teams. They've been limited on the number of people that they can even take along or bring to the racetrack, here up to this date. So I think, the competition level is going to be tremendous. You got all the best and the best with Brad Sweet, Donnie Schatz, David Gravel, just to name a few, and then you throw in like a Matt Jewell, who's been extremely hot here lately. And, you got Brian Brown, Terry McCarl, and some of our local teams too. I think, they've got some laps around. Henderson, I mean, he's been extremely fast, here lately. And, I think you throw those guys in to the mix, and I think, I think some of our local guys have a pretty good opportunity to run up front with these guys.
All right, that again was Doug Johnson, the general manager of Jackson Motorplex. The 42nd AGCO Jackson Nationals will get underway Thursday and continue through Saturday. If you can't get there in person, all 3 nights will be streamed on Dirt Vision. After sweeping the first 2 NOSA sprint features of the season, Austin Pierce looked to make it 3 straight at River Cities. Find out if he got it done when we come back. Austin Pierce has been on a serious roll to start the NOSA sprint season, with the 2-time series champ coming from 5th and 6th respectively to win the first 2 features at River Cities. Friday, Pierce sought a 3rd straight victory in Grand Forks.
Pierce would have to wait a while to get his shot because this proved to be a long night of racing. The 16 of Randy Thompson held the point for the start of the Midwest Modifieds feature, but numerous cautions would keep his momentum choppy at best, and that eventually opened the door for Reese Stenberg. The 87S finally squeezes by Thompson on the inside, and he would pull away from there. The driver out of Argusville, North Dakota, collects his first bull ring victory of the season. The Lightning Sprints made their 2nd appearance of the season on Friday, and it would be a memorable one for Bryce Haugberg. The double deuce set the tone from his pole starting spot, and there would be just one challenger all night. Alan Trusinski piloted the 13 machine past Haugberg briefly at the halfway point, but the 22 responds in a hurry. Haugberg would finish it off from there, holding off Trusinski for his first win of the season. The Steffes Street Stock Tour made its way onto the track next, and it was the 10V of Justin Vogel showing the way early on. Vogel held that top spot for the first 14 laps, but his luck runs out right here. The 10V spins on the restart, handing the lead to Jake Fremke. But the 63 would never get comfortable, and he too would spin while leading. Rated with Soda Street Stock National Champ Johnny Carter moved to the front after that, but he would spend the last 11 laps battling with the 51 of Eric Riley. The two went door to the finish, but it was Riley edging out Carter by just 4 1/1000ths of a second. Austin Pierce lucked out and drew the pole for the NOSA feature, and the 2A looked awful good once again. Halfway through, though, the attention shifted to Jade Hastings. The 8H takes a nasty spill after colliding with Nick Amdahl. Fortunately, both drivers would walk away okay. After a few more restarts, a familiar car started to surge through the field. The 13 JT of Mark Dobmeyer climbed from 9th to 2nd to earn a shot at Pierce. He took that shot late, but the slider comes up just short. Pierce holds off Dobmeyer to remain undefeated in Grand Forks this season. 51-year racing veteran Tom Corcoran started out front for the late model feature, and the T1 initially settled in ahead of Lance Schill in the 17. But those two would duke it out for the first few circuits before Schill eventually slipped by for the lead. Last week's winner, Brad Seg, would also work his way into the mix, even gaining the lead briefly before lap traffic slowed him up. That allowed Schill to get back in front, and this time he would stay there. Schill shines in a who's who of past River City's track champions to notch his first late model win.
While capturing memories for local racers is one of this man's favorite personal pastimes, he's never asked for anything in return. But that didn't stop the racing community from paying him back in a big way. Brian Shawn has that story next.
Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Speedway.
On a typical race night, photographers can be found working their way around the infield and through the pits, hoping to capture unique images of cars and drivers. Midco SN's Brian Shawn introduces us to a West Fargo man that's become well known for his work with a camera, and explains how his weekly efforts inspired those in the racing community to give something back to him. It's tonight's Inside Track, presented by Dakota Speedway.
Stephen Olson has been taking photos at racetracks in the Red River Valley for nearly 15 years.
It's my favorite thing to do in summer. I just take my camera and just take pictures of the cars. That's what makes me happy.
And he's become pretty good at it too.
He knows his way around the camera. He's got a lot of experience with it. He knows what he's doing.
I'm usually in turn 4 when they take the green flag. Then I hold the camera tilted a little bit, try to get a good angle.
Olson, better known as the Stevenator, has also become a really popular figure in the racing community.
He comes every week. He walks through the pits and shows you last night's or last week's pictures every week.
He doesn't ask for anything in return. He takes pictures for all of us racers, and it's just unreal that someone can have so much passion for something. It doesn't feel the same without Stevenator here on a race night. Like, you see him, he's walking around the pits all the time, just chatting to everybody. He's got a smile on his face.
It's probably one of the coolest things. I mean, he just goes driver to driver, and you're always wondering how many pictures he took that night, and he'll tell you.
I can average over 600 to 700 photos a night.
Now, Stephen had been using the same camera for over a decade, and over the years, it had gotten pretty beaten up. So Macy Hall, wife of modified driver Tyler Hall, came up with an idea, a fundraiser for some new equipment.
She asked me if what it took to start a GoFundMe, and I told her, I said, I have no idea, but if we started one, if everyone that knows Stevenator would just give $5, we would easily have enough money for a camera. I think we raised $1,000 in the first 30 minutes. So, once we reached that, I'm like, oh boy, there's no telling how far this is going to go. It just kind of snowballed into way more than we ever expected.
Within just a few days, a goal of $1,200 reached over $4,000, with 75 different donors chipping in.
I didn't even hesitate. I didn't put my donation in.
It just shows you how many people he's influenced throughout the years.
Earlier this month at Red River Valley Speedway in front of fans and drivers, the Stevenator was surprised with 2 new cameras, lenses, a bag, and other accessories.
Look at that! What do you think, bud?
It just goes to show the support of the racing community, not only how tight-knit we are, but also the support for Steven. A small community, a big family, and just supporting of everything. It's something I'm really happy to be a part of.
After getting his new gear, Stevenator didn't have a lot to say.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Give it up for the Stevenator, everybody!
But sometimes a picture really is worth 1,000 words. For Midco Motorsports, I'm Brian Shawn.
Outstanding. Well, as it turns out, the Stevenator is also a pretty good wheelman. Olson is a part-time go-kart racer at the Red River Kart Club, where he picked up his first feature win of the season just last week. All right, that is our time for this week. For Brian Shawn, our producer Levi Vanderwady, and the rest of our crew, I'm Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Midco Motorsports.